What is up, everybody? Bootman here, and we're back with another Marvel Snap video. I wasn't going to make another video today. I was just planning on doing one. Today, we have the first of weekly OTA balance updates. All right, I was like, I don't need to make a video on that. It's probably gonna be minor changes. I don't need to, but they just got released for the first week, and I have just too many thoughts that I wanted to share with all of you. So OTA means over the air updates, so they could tweak numbers on cards. They could basically change like the cost, the power, or things in the text that are number-based, all right? They're gonna be doing this weekly up until I believe the end of May. So this is the first week. We have 4 cards on the list, and I've seen some other reactions so far, and I'm like, I gotta talk about this. So I wanna share my thoughts and opinions with all of you beautiful people, because this could shake up the meta a little bit, and there might be some cards that you wanna start using, stop using, all that stuff, all right? But before we get started, if you're new here, hi, my name is Chris. I also go by Bootman. And if you love Marvel Snap as much as I do, especially the competitive aspect, ranking up the ladder, testing out different deck and card strategies, all that, make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell, trying to hit 10,000 subscribers as soon as we can, and you can help me out. And I got a bunch of cool stuff for you. Not only will I provide you with extremely valuable videos, but we have an amazing Discord server down in the description below. I give away 3 season passes every single month, every single new season, but you gotta be subscribed and you gotta follow me on Twitter. Twitter is linked down in the description below. It's at BootmanMSTZ. All right, let's jump into these updates, and I promise I'll try to make this quick. All right, so April 27th, first one. There's a first over-the-air updates. So first up on the list is our girl, Shanna. All right, so they took her from a 4-2 to a 4-4. And just remember, with these OTA updates, the abilities are not going to change. It is numbers only. So Shanna got buffed to power, all right? So Shanna has fallen a bit flat since release. Even during the height of Zabu's might, she was a low-performing 4-cost card, and we like to give her a better chance to shine. This buff is simple, but it highlights that Shanna wasn't being appropriately compensated for needing 4 valuable slots to hit her ceiling. In general, cards and decks that fill many slots early are safer to make strong, since there's been plenty of game left to retreat, and their ability to gain cubes is impeded. This is especially true in Shanna's case, where the randomness and existence of cards like Killmonger makes her a bit riskier. Hopefully, this additional power is enough. So Shanna, yeah, she hasn't been used much. I got her from a cache, a week, 2 weeks ago. Haven't used her once. I have seen people happy about, really happy about this. I know my boy Paper, a fellow content creator, he just made a YouTube video on Shanna. He loves using her. I see people have a lot of fun with Shanna, and I think the fun comes from the randomness, but honestly, my opinion of this card hasn't changed since she came out, and this right here, for me personally, it's not changing. It's not changing too much. I think a lot of people are gonna experiment with her. I think we might see her a little bit more. I don't think I've ever played against somebody that used Shanna unless it came from like the hub or something like that. We might see her a little bit more this week, but I don't think it'll be long lasting. I just don't think this is a great card. I think this card and like the synergy with like Khazar, Zabu, and Dazzler when they first came out during that Savage Land season, Second Dinner kind of had this like idea in their head, and it just didn't pan out. And I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I'm not gonna be doing too much. I might finally play Shanna because I know a lot of people are gonna be making cool deck ideas, but it's the randomness. I've said this a million times. It's why I haven't been a huge fan of discard decks, of lockjaw decks. Like, the game is already random enough. I don't need to add randomness. So that's just a me thing. We'll see if I'm wrong. Next up is Lizard, everybody's favorite 2-cost 5-power card. So when you fill up the location against Lizard, it loses 3 power. It goes from a 2-5 down to a 2-2. Well, now it will be going down to a 2-1. All right, so when one card becomes a clear outlier on play rate because it's playable in a huge number of decks, that's something we flag and keep an eye on. That doesn't mean we always take action. It's important for us to keep in mind the series structure can serve to make cards appear overplayed when they're actually just widely available. However, when we have a clear top card for the cost and can slice a little bit of its strength away from it without necessarily dethroning it, that's largely a solid change for us to make. So that's what's happening here with arguably the softest nerf we've ever made. So this right here, I probably put in the thumbnail and title. I do that after the video, but I probably put like, oh my God, Lizard's dead. Lizard's not dead. Lizard is not dead, all right? Like Lizard is a 2/5 card. And when we get to another one of these changes, like Lizard like might even be used just as much or even more now. But this isn't much. Like, tell me this, how many times have you just fully committed to a lane to debuff Lizard? How many times have you done that, right? Like filling a lane is something that we do sometimes towards the end of the game with like hit monkey decks and ones where you're like dumping a bunch of stuff. It's a little bit more common, but like the Lizard thing is kind of like a bait, right? Like people are trying to bait you in like, oh, hey, I got a Lizard here. You got to decide if you want to let me have that much power or you're going to overcommit here. And if you decide to overcommit here, that means you can't put cards over there, right? So Lizard's always been like that. I think Lizard's still going to be like that. And here's something that I said on the Snap Judgments podcast the other day. We have Silk coming out next month, all right? And if the data mines are correct, Silk is a 2/5. Silk is a 2/5, literally has no downside. Like you could see it as a downside. Basically her text reads something along the lines of once any card is played here, she moves to another location. So if the location gets full, maybe that's a downside, but she's gonna be a 2/5. Right? So I don't know, once she comes out, people are gonna be like, Lizard who? You know, she's gonna be series 5, you know what I mean? But I don't think this is too huge. I still think Lizard's gonna be used just as much. Look at the play rates, go check the stats and the data right now. I doubt this will do anything. All right, this next one is a huge, okay? Sandman. Sandman going from a 5/5 down to a 5/3. All right, so Sandman's changed from 4/1 to 5/5. We've seen him become a foundational piece of an electro-based strategy that slows down the opponent and makes his effect feel asymmetrical by contesting multiple lanes with Dr. Doom or just some heavy hitters. That's certainly the deck we expected to see, but it's become more popular than we'd like. This tap on the main man makes him less competitive source of power, giving added edge to players committing cards early and making in-game choices of each player more likely to ultimately determine the outcome of the game. I think this is great. Taking away 2 power, that's cool. That reminds me of just like a leech, right? Like when you played leech, like even though everybody hated leech or whatever, like if you played leech, unless you cheated him out early with like a lockjaw or something like that, like it's such a wasted turn, right? Like it is a wasted turn because that thing is 3 power. Sandman being a 5/5, like just having a Sandman and a Dr. Doom or Doombot on that lane, boom, 10 power right there. Meanwhile, you can, as the opponent, you can barely catch up. So I think this is good. It seems minor, but I think we're gonna notice a lot. But this next and final update, which is one of the main reasons I wanna make this video, this is the big one. All right, there we go. I had to switch views because you guys couldn't fully see it. So next up is my girl Enchantress. This is why I want to make the video. Enchantress gone from a 4/4 to a 4/6, all right? It's been particularly telling to us that in a world where Armor, Patriot, Darkhawk, Devil Dino, Sandman, Blue Marvel, and Null are major players, that Enchantress is a poor performer on both popularity and actual winning. There are mitigating factors, of course, energy curves, priority battles, and so forth, but ultimately she's not functioning as a solid counter for ongoing cards, especially the symmetrical ones that Rogue can't interact with. Hopefully this change lets her contest locations in addition to neutralizing major power problems like Darkhawk or reclaiming a big turn 6 from an early Sandman. Like, oh my God, like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I have been, and all of you who have been here for a minute, you know, I have been the biggest Enchantress stan, all right, since like ages ago, all right? Majantress, I just made a video on Majantress. Whenever I have a deck that uses Enchantress, whenever I have a deck like a Sarah Control, you always hear me saying, I wish it had Enchantress in here. Like, Enchantress did not need this buff. Like, this whole thing right here, when they're saying like, she's not being like a poor performer on both popularity and actual winning. Like my butt, like this is a player problem. This right here was a player problem and they didn't need to buffer, okay? They did not need a buffer. Like people are just ridiculous and I don't know why they have not been putting in Enchantress. If you have any kind of control deck, like when Sarah control decks started coming on the rise again, what was it, like last season, people really started using Sarah control again, and even this season, just people were not putting Enchantress in. They just weren't doing it. I'm like, what is wrong with you, right? Is a phenomenal card. Decks like, look at these cards they listed, right? Armor, Patriot, Darkhawk, Devil Dino, Blue Marvel, specifically those, Sandman we'll get to in a second, and Null, those have all been popular cards. Like since I started playing the game, Darkhawk is newer, right? But since Darkhawk came out, he's been a popular card. There's been no point where an Enchantress has not been a good card. And like all my successful decks, like Enchantress, other decks, they have all been so powerful because of Enchantress. Right now, you're probably like, Chris, well, they buffed your favorite card, like one of your favorite cards. What are you so upset about? Because they just put a huge spotlight on her. They just put a huge spotlight on Enchantress. So many people are gonna use her, and she was one of the best surprise cards. Just one of the best. People, like, you could snap into so many ongoing decks, they'd snap you back, they'd stay in, because Enchantress wasn't even crossing their mind. They're just like, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna deal with my my Patriot and my Mystique? How are you gonna deal with my Iron Man, right? All these different things. And now they just put a major spotlight right on Enchantress. So what I was saying too, with what they did to Lizard, well, if Enchantress's value just went up, well, why not just remove the ongoing effect of Lizard too? You know what I mean? You could strategically put Lizard on a lane. Like you could play Lizard and Enchantress on a turn 6, right? Just fill up the lane. That is a huge burst of power against an ongoing deck. I just think this was unnecessary. And again, I think this is just a player problem. I talked to you all here a lot about groupthink and why you need to be more of an independent thinker. None of the top decks, none of the major players, and recently we've seen a little bit more Enchantress just because Patriot's been having this like heyday, but like this was a player problem. People are just running around following the herd, just like, oh, I don't need Enchantress. Oh, she's just been amazing this whole time. I do understand what they're saying though here, like with problems like Sandman, like I do like how now if they cheat Sandman out early, not only does Sandman have less power, but you can turn 5 Enchantress and it doesn't feel as bad or like a wasted turn because you're also getting a nice little burst of power too. But anyways, I think this change was ridiculous and I got so heated about it just because this is really a player problem. This was a player problem. People are just too narrow-minded. People aren't experimenting enough. They're just net decking, copying the decks they see, and they're not like, I just don't get how you don't like run into all these ongoing decks and say, I wonder if there's a card that can do something about that. I can rant about this all day, but I'm gonna shut up now. For the most part, this is super cool. If they find out they, buffed Enchantress when they shouldn't have, they can knock her back down next week. Cool. All right, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. That's all I got for the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, ring the notification bell, and follow me on Twitter at BootmanMSTZ, because I will be announcing next month's Season Pass giveaway, probably this weekend. All right, have an amazing rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one.